First off, can you tell me a little bit about the team behind Day of Infamy?
Sure. My name is Michael Struhaus. I'm the community manager and voiceover director at New World. The team behind Day of Infamy is the same team responsible that made Insurgency, and it's the one that's currently working on Insurgency Sandstorm, the sequel, which is coming out on Unreal Engine 4 in 2018. Day of Infamy, this World War II shooter that we're talking about today, just came out last week on the 23rd. We are a 35, roughly over 30-man team. We are mostly located remotely. We have people in the Czech Republic, in Europe, in America, and Canada, all around. We have an office. Our main office is in Amsterdam, however. And our team focuses mostly on those first-person shooter, hardcore kinds of experiences, I would say.
Yeah, I remember playing Insurgency. What I liked about that is it's rather realistic in the sense that you can't take 15 bullets and keep walking. What has the sort of response been for Day of Infamy? I mean, obviously it started off as a mod. And what was the process like to take it from a mod to what it is now, a standalone game?
It was very interesting because it's as we are an independent team, and just because of the makeup of our team and how I prefer to make games, we're very iterative. So I guess the modding process was like that because we took Insurgency, we modded World War II into it just because we wanted to. We thought it'd be cool, and we did it with our community, and we realized like, wow, like we've got tens of thousands of subscribers on the workshop. Hey, let's just make a full game. So that's how it all started, and from there it was just a matter of like iterating and blocking out maps, balancing them. Then once they felt good, we prettied them up with the art and stuff, and that ever since that, which was took about a 1.5 year long process since it was a mod, it came to be what it is now. And even now, like, we're still iterating, we're still improving it. So.
What has been the sort of public reaction to it? What's sort of been the sort of reception of it so far?
It's been pretty good. We've been really happy to see, even throughout early access, everybody was very positive. They were giving us very good feedback, and we actually maintained like a pretty good rating. Like we were at early access has a bit of a bad reputation, but we didn't experience that because like we were pumping out updates, we were putting out content, maps, and weapons, and levels, and balancing things, and truly actually reading the forums, listening to the community, and making the game better because of it, and just putting the time in, to improve and iterate. And we had like a 80 to 90% rating, maybe not all throughout early access, but toward the end. And we actually came out of it with a recent, and I'm talking about Steam rating, of 93%, which is cool. And right now, as of launch, it stands around like 87, which again, pretty good for an indie shooter just coming out of early access, right? Yeah.
What sort of steps have been taken to ensure realism in that World War II setting? Did you have to do lots of research?
We do, personally, we try to shy away a little bit from using the word realistic. However, that is a starting point for us. We just always want to make sure gameplay takes precedent, or takes the priority. But we do try to be historical. One of the ways that manifests itself is we have all these different factions and the units. You can play as the Commonwealth, the US Army, or the Wehrmacht, and within those you can play as real-world historical units that fought on our maps in Italy. At Salerno, at Ortona, you can play as Canadians, you can play as Scottish divisions, Indians, African Americans, American paratroopers, German paratroopers, all kinds of different stuff. And they're based on real-world units. We do a lot of research. We wanted to get a lot of the things we wanted to get accurate. We do try to get accurate. The way you load weapons, the firing rates of weapons. Sometimes will be adjusted for gameplay, but still, we wanted to make sure that was there. Weapons that were actually used. Maybe they weren't used that often, but we put them in anyway because they're cool. So it was a balance, I would say, of all those things.
What sort of game modes are there available in the multiplayer game at the moment?
There's both PvP and co-op game modes that are available. The co-op modes feature offensive modes like a stronghold, where you have to attack all these points and clear the map, entrenchment, where you defend, raid, where you select specific targets. And then there's PvP modes like invasion, where you're just full-on assaulting positions, offensive, where you're assaulting but it's a little slower, and we have this respawning mechanic that's special for certain modes called the regroup mechanic, where you have to fall back as a defender to spawn your team, bring them back up to the line. Then we have liberation, which is like less offensive versus defenders and more like everybody fight over the same points, stuff like that.
And how many players can you have maximum in a game? I heard there's quite a high number of players that can be in any one game on this.
It's true, yep. For co-op, it can be 8. For PvP, adversarial multiplayer, 32. However, modders can mod it, and you can put it up to, like, we don't recommend like 16-player co-op, but people do it in Insurgency, and they can do it in Day of Infamy. It just gets really insane. It's the problem.
Yeah. How's stability when you start to get a lot of players? I mean, obviously there's so many different computers connecting at the same time.
Right.
Did you have any problems, say, with Insurgency, with having so many people, or?
When we keep it at 32 for PvP, it's okay, and that's what we balance for anyway. And honestly, it might get too hectic and less fun otherwise. But if you go over that, you do start to see some chug. In addition to, again, like the map's not being really appropriate for it. But again, like if people want to do that in co-op or in PvP, there's 40-player PvP servers. If people want to have that experience, they're welcome to it.
And so now that the game's been released as of Thursday, was it? Where are you guys planning on taking it to next? Are you going to start working on more content, or maybe bring it to consoles?
We've talked about exploring consoles. It's possible. We don't have any plans for that in the immediate future, but we have discussed that. Our next game will be on consoles, Insurgency Sandstorm, for sure. But with this one, we're kind of seeing, in terms of other post-release content, we're exploring the idea of putting in more maps, putting in more units, because I was telling you the guys we unlock, different characters, that's possible too. And I also should add, in regards to those characters, they're just cosmetic or they're just voiceover, they're not gameplay unlocks. You can buy them in the item store or unlock them in the game, but it's just a cosmetic thing.
The public reception, because you went into early access, how has that helped shape the game? Have you sort of took on player feedback and changed the game based on what people say? And how would that different to what the game is today compared to if you had no feedback at all?
If we had no feedback at all, I think the game would just honestly be less balanced. We test like almost like every time we test PvP, it's done with the community. You know, that's a big part of this because the community's feedback is important, and also just logistically, like we need more bodies in there. You know, some people are developing, they don't have time to test. So, and that makes sense for us in our company, and it's to a good result and a good effect. And I would say the big thing is balance in terms of maps, in terms of weapons, that kind of thing. But also even content. You know, we've gotten ideas, people have recommended stuff to us, and we've implemented things like that. Or we've had an idea and somebody will say something and be like, that's a good idea. So we get validated, you know, even before it's in the game. So, yeah.
Okay, so to get a peek behind the curtain of development, you said you're in charge of doing the voice act, or in charge of voice acting.
Yep.
What's it been like trying to sort of gather people together to do lines, or sort of give us an idea of what voice acting involves?
It's been interesting. I've personally, I wrote most of the script, and I was the director of the voiceover, so I've had a lot of control, and in doing that, and having a good vision that the team agreed with, it was cool because we could really have something special, because we're essentially what I'm saying is there was a lot of creative control that I felt personally, and I could really express that in terms of the writing and the voiceover. It was also very difficult because we're an iterative game, like I was telling you. So like we're developing the voices one way, and like, oh, we added a new mode, so we need new voices for that. Oh, you know what? It'd be cool if players reacted when artillery was incoming. So write that in. Follow up with those other actors and get this voiceover. So that was a bit of a challenge, but at the same time, that kind of development allows for a lot of really cool things to happen and a lot of content to be created. In Day of Infamy right now, there are 12 characters. 9 of them are playable. All those accents I was telling you about, Indian, Scottish, American, a couple Americans, a couple Germans, and there's over 7,000 lines of dialogue. And overall, like, I personally feel like that contributes to a game's atmosphere immensely. Like when you get shot at, your character should sound like he's being shot at, right? It's scary, and he should act like it. And you also have all these neat characters that actually fought in the war, and you know, it's cool to see that character diversity. It's cool to see people from different places fighting in the same conflict, when normally World War II is just Americans and Germans and Brits, but it's not.
So you said that you can unlock the other characters by playing. What does the unlocking process involve? Is there a sort of a leveling up system where you unlock different things at each level? Or?
Yep, that's right. It's a ranking system. So as you play and you know, you do good things, you capture objectives, you get kills, you call on artillery, stuff like that. As you play and you rank up, you unlock like a random unit It's weighted in terms of how random, like some are more rare than others. And then you get them, and once you get the unit, you can play as it on certain maps. Like, we limited it because we didn't want, like, excuse me, for example, like paratroopers on Omaha Beach. Like, what are they doing there? Did they miss their flight? I don't know. And also, like, winter German, like there was winter German camouflage that wouldn't make sense in Italy, for example. So we did limit the units, but other than that, like basically you get a unit, any map that that unit is playable, you can use it on that one.
Excellent, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing where the game goes from here. Thank you.